and unique stories occurring in the province of Ontario. This documentary first aired in November of 1999.
The greening of Sudbury.
I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal when you start to look at the sorts of tree stands that we're seeing here. And 25 years ago, to think that there wasn't a blade of grass here, and now you've got tree stands.
30 years ago, man first set foot on the moon. But before the Apollo 11 astronauts blasted off on their historic journey, NASA sent them on a practice mission to Sudbury. It's part of our national lore that it was because the city landscape resembled the dark side of the moon. Indeed, by the 1960s, pollution had killed off anything green, leaving behind ancient, barren rock. But the times, as they say, are a-changin'.
Sudbury, flat, desolate, not many trees.
The moon, like it's a crater.
All these astronauts came up to Sudbury to practice what it would be like to be on the moon.
The astronaut story it's one of the flagship stories in the mythology of Sudbury. The astronauts came here because it was like the moon. That's just not true at all, but it's fun, and we like telling the real story. They came because of the geology. Between the late 1880s and about 1929, a good deal of the ore that was mined in Sudbury was roasted before it went to the smelters. It was roasted in roast beds like this one, about 20 football fields long, nearly 2 kilometers. What happened around here was that clouds of sulfur dioxide rolled across the landscape, and it ruined the landscape around here.
There were 3 smelters in Sudbury, all opened in the late 1920s. The sulfur dioxide being emitted near ground level, so effectively killed off all the vegetation. The particulates built up large amounts of copper and nickel in the soil, which would hinder growth of plants.
It goes back about 25 years now, and I went to this elementary school. I think it was grade 5 that we had a professor from the university come forward and ask for some volunteers that would help out on a couple summer days and see if we could help with an experiment. The way he presented the idea to us, it was, we're going to grow grass on rocks, and we were all pretty intrigued by that. So we spent a few days in the summertime and came up into this area, which back then was absolutely devastation. It was very much rocks and sand and gravel. The idea was to see if we could actually grow grass in this area. And I don't think back then, at least the students had any real sense of what we were embarking on, that we were a part of Sudbury's history.
The land reclamation program has basically 2 different processes. One is what we refer to as the grassing and greening. The lime bags that you see here today are trying to decrease the acidity that is in this soil. After the lime is put on the ground, we put some fertilizer down, and then we do grass seed. And then once that land has remained for a year or 2, we come back in the following years and we plant our trees. Over the past few years, we've been concentrating a bit more on tree planting, averaging about 1 million trees a year.
The difference between 1970 and 1980 in Sudbury is enormous, both in understanding of the science of how to deal with the devastated landscape, and also in the application of new technology in the mining industry in order to cut down the amount of emission, the quantity of sulfur dioxide and metals that were being put into the atmosphere. It really was Sudbury's turnaround decade.
The mining companies do contribute each year. They have their own programs of reclamation, which include some of the barrens near their own sites. They contribute to the regional program, but but most of the money has come from various levels of government.
People who have come to the region in the past few years are very surprised at what they see here. It's very difficult now to find a lot of those black, barren rock areas.
I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal when you start to look at the sorts of tree stands that we're seeing here. And 25 years ago, to think that there wasn't a blade of grass here, and now you've got tree stands, and you walk through here and you're actually seeing, you know, life. You're seeing birds and chipmunks and porcupines and other things. It's such a transformation. It really does amaze you to see all of this.
In the last couple of years, I've shown people around from China, from Russia, and they come to see what we've done here and to see whether we can take some of the technology or some of the ideas and transfer it to smelter damaged areas in other parts of the world.
It's important when one thinks about the success of the revegetation program, I think, to get beyond just what you see. The visible part of the battle has begun to be won, but the invisible part beneath the surface of the lakes and beneath the surface of the soil has still to be really won, I think.
This community now believes that it can tackle any major problem, and we've got the evidence to demonstrate to the whole world that, in fact, we've got the capacity to do that. We've moved from dreaming to hoping to believing.
For further information on the Regional Municipality of Sudbury's land reclamation program, please contact us.